Hello everybody, welcome to my Witcher laboratory. So I've had a lot of people ask me about what I do every day to stop hair loss, and I did do a video several years ago where I went over my protocol. It was much more extensive, and that was mostly out of fear that I wasn't doing enough to stop hair loss, but my routine is much more straightforward, it's much cheaper today, so therefore it's not quite as exciting, but since this has been heavily requested, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys anyway. So, as I've said many times, the most basic hair loss stack and the most effective hair loss stack will always include a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. So you want to make sure you're using Finasteride or Finasteride. If you want to save money, the best thing you could use is generic Proscar. That's what this is. This is a 5 milligram tablet. It's a lot cheaper than using 1 milligram of Propecia or generic Propecia. Generic Proscar is the best thing to do if you want to save money. Of course, 5 milligrams per day is overkill, and Finasteride peaks at 1 milligram per day anyway, so you want to quarter it. So I'll tell you what I do. So if you cut this into perfect quarters, you're going to get 1.25 milligrams per day. So that's roughly the same as 1 milligram per day, because like I said, you don't get any additional benefits if you do more than 1 milligram per day. So Finasteride is not a very dose-dependent drug, so you don't have to worry about getting the perfect cut. I want to stress that. If you have one piece that's smaller than the other, maybe it's like 0.8 milligrams and the other one is 1.1 milligrams, it doesn't matter. It's going to be roughly the same. And actually, I did a video about splitting Finasteride and why it doesn't really reduce the efficacy, contrary to what some people say. And I'll link that video below if you want to learn more about that. So let's go ahead and cut this. So you can use a razor blade, a pill cutter, or just a sharp knife, but this is a circular pill, so I'm going to go ahead and just let's see, I'm going to try to cut in the middle of that number. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a perfect cut, but you still want to try to come pretty close. So let's go ahead and just cut this guy. It might be a little blurry, sorry if it is. Oh my goodness. And yeah, that was an example of a bad cut, actually. So let's try that again. I'll save that for later. Man, that's really embarrassing. Okay, let's try a better cut then. Okay. Second time, damn it. Let's go ahead and cut right down the middle. I'm still going to use that, by the way, but I'm just going to try to cut that with a more, probably with a pill cutter or something. But let's go ahead and just try this knife. Cut this guy. There we go. That's a pretty good cut. Not perfect, but like I said, Finasteride is not dose dependent, so it doesn't have to be. So let me go ahead and cut it again, and I'll cut the other one later. But right now I'm just trying to down 1/4. There we go. And actually, yeah, in hindsight, even though this is a pretty sharp knife, it's better to use a razor blade because this wasn't a very good cut. I just wanted to be able to better show you what kind of device I use. But a razor blade or a pill cutter would probably be better, although this would work too. So we have a 1.25 milligram tablet right here, and this will do all the heavy lifting. This will stop hair loss in well over 90% of people, and it will cause hair regrowth in at least 66% of people based on the clinical trials. So for most people, especially people who start treatment before losing significant ground, this will probably be all they ever have to use. So I'm going to go ahead and take it, and I have strong throat muscles from drinking the tears of DHT Sims, so I don't need a glass of water. So here we go. All right, and I've got the most important part of my routine covered. I just swallowed a pill, so let's move on to minoxidil. All right, and the next most important part of my routine is topical minoxidil. So topical minoxidil is a non-specific growth stimulant, so it'll work for causes of hair loss that are even non-androgenic related, like senescent alopecia. So it's useful for old people who are losing hair, even if they don't have androgenic alopecia. But it's also, of course, good for any type of hair loss, including androgenic alopecia. So minoxidil is best suited for people who don't just want to stop hair loss, but they want to actually promote some regrowth. Of course, DHT is still going to be killing your hair follicles if you are not using Finasteride, so minoxidil will only have limited efficacy if it's used as a monotherapy. So this is an adjunctive therapy strictly. It should not be seen as a monotherapy, except maybe for people who are losing hair really young, like they're 15, 16, and their doctors won't write them a prescription for Finasteride. In that case, it might be okay to use minoxidil as a monotherapy for a little while, but make sure you get a prescription for Finasteride as soon as possible. So I'll use about 3 milliliters per day, and let me explain why. So the standard dose is 1 milliliter per day, but when they did the clinical trials for this treatment, they only applied it on the crown. So 1 milliliter per day may be enough for the crown, but I like to get full scalp coverage, so I'll actually use 3 milliliters. So what I usually do, and I can't do today, so I'm sorry about that, chums, is that I'll actually mix minoxidil with tretinoin gel. You can do tretinoin cream, but tretinoin gel is better. It dissolves much better. So I won't be mixing this with anything because I don't have any tretinoin gel, but I'll explain to you what I do. So I have some shot glasses. I don't drink, but I occasionally have company over or friends and family members who do enjoy a glass of wine or a shot of whiskey every now and then. So I do have some equipment for them. But additionally, I also use a shot glass, and this is what I use to mix my topicals. So what I'll do is that I'll just take a couple beads of 0.01% topical tretinoin, and I'll put it in the shot glass, and then I'll use the dropper, the 1 milliliter dropper on this topical minoxidil, and I will go ahead and mix it in. So we got 1 milliliter there, and you can just pretend that there's a tretinoin in this, even though there's not. We got another one right here. And then 3 milliliters, when it is applied carefully, should be enough for full scalp coverage. And then, I'll just mix it in like that. Now, if you're mixing the cream, you'll have to mix more thoroughly, but the gel will just dissolve well in the propylene glycol and ethanol solution. So I'll go ahead and leave this dropper out here for now. Now, you'll notice this says use twice daily. Well, guess what? That's actually bullshit. You can use it once daily, and once daily is equally as effective as twice daily, and I actually made a video about that, which I'll link below as well. So when I apply this, and forgive me if this doesn't look perfect, I don't have a mirror in the room right now, so I'm just doing this to the camera. So I will go ahead and take 1 milliliter, and rather than just pouring it on my scalp, what I'll do is I'll just kind of part my hair in the problem areas. And that's another thing I want to stress. You only need to apply this in the problem areas, the areas that are thinning. If you are on finasteride, that will do most of the heavy lifting. So you can go ahead and just use minoxidil on the areas that you're struggling with. So for me, that's the temples. So I'll go ahead and just put a little on at a time, and I'll go ahead and massage it in rather than just pouring it on. And you'll just want to part the hair like this. Even if you have long hair, you can do this. I'm going to go for the crown right here. And if you have retrograde alopecia, or if you're a diffuse thinner, you can easily just apply it to the sides or all over the scalp. So already, I feel like I'm just gently pressing the plunger, and I'm getting plenty of minoxidil. I feel the liquid on my scalp, so I know I'm getting good coverage around the front and in the back. And if you feel it drop, if a little bit falls down to your forehead, no big deal. You can just wipe that off with a paper towel or just rub it onto the hairline. And you see, you can use either your knuckle or a couple of fingers to rub it in. And of course, I got a couple milliliters left. And actually, I got pretty good coverage with that 1 milliliter, so I could probably almost stop there. But, nothing exceeds like excess. So let's keep going. All right. And if you're trying to thicken the donor region in preparation for a future hair transplant, you certainly can apply it on the donor region as well. And another little interesting tidbit about minoxidil is that since it is a non-specific growth stimulant, you can actually use it on the beard and grow your beard, because facial hair isn't adversely affected by dihydrotestosterone. And there's even a subreddit dedicated to that subject called Minox Beards, and it seems like the gains are permanent. So you can certainly apply this to your beard if you want to get some minoxidil beard gains. I'm just about done. This takes less than a couple minutes. I mean, I know a lot of people complain about how inconvenient this is, and they'll take oral minoxidil instead. And I know my opinions on oral minoxidil are so controversial, people get really upset. But the truth be told, I mean, I have nothing against people who use oral minoxidil. It's just that I don't feel comfortable recommending it on my channel, and I've made a few videos explaining why. But if you are an oral minoxidil user, don't take my opinion so personally. I have nothing against you. But of course, that's just the second part of the big three. You don't want to neglect another very important component of a hair loss stack, and that is leg training. Now, I do have a home gym, but the cat took a shit in my home gym, so I'm not going to be able to use it. So let's go to the public gym and get a good leg workout in. Alright, so when you're over doing any kind of leg training exercise for the purpose of regrowing hair, You want to make sure you use enough weight so you get that oscillating force that will cause that chain reaction that breaks up the calcification of the scalp. But you also want to make sure that it's not so heavy that it slows down the velocity of the bar so you don't get that bar whip. So you want to do something that's kind of like moderate intensity. So at least 100 kilograms or so. This is a little bit more. This is like 220 pounds. So you got just 345, so 2.5 on it. And I'll try like maybe like 5 reps or so that way I get sufficient volume. So I'll start with this. Yeah, moderate intensity, enough velocity to get a barbell whip, and you also want to make sure you get a full range of motion. So let's move on to the next exercise. All right, so next we're going to do some calf raises. Calf raises are very important because the calf muscles have a very high density of androgen receptors, so you don't want the DHT on your scalp. So what happens when you do calf raises is your muscles will actually soak up the DHT, and when DHT gets soaked up by the muscles, it's broken down by an enzyme called 3-alpha-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, and that basically inactivates it. So, of course, when you do calf raises, you want to make sure you get a full range of motion. You want to get full dorsiflexion and full plantar flexion, so it's better to do it on a piece of equipment like this. So we're going to do it on this leg press machine. So when you're doing it, you want to make sure you don't fully extend, because there's nothing to stop the hyperextension. So make sure you maintain a little bit of flexion in the leg, and you're going to put your toes, the balls of your feet just here at the bottom. You're going to go ahead and fully flex, and then fully extend, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. And this isn't a very compound movement, so you want to make sure you get a good amount of volume, at least 15 reps per set. You're going to start to feel that burn after a while. Actually, I haven't been counting, so let's just do a few more reps. But you see I'm getting that full range of motion in. I can practically feel my hair follicles growing. This is great. Stop at this one. All right. Right, and that should be a pretty effective workout. And there's other movements you can do as well. Another good movement that I'm not going to demonstrate today because I don't have the room is a farmer's walk. And walking involves like the soleus, the gastroc, so you still have that that dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, except you do it with resistance. So the way you perform that is you just take the heaviest weights you can carry and try to walk like a 1/10 of a mile per set or so, and that should be a good effective exercise to add to your hair loss routine as well. So anyways, those are just a couple movements you could do if you are interested in stopping hair loss, but of course exercise alone isn't enough, so make sure you use your finasteride and your minoxidil, and I'll see you all next time. God bless.